Welcome, everyone. Our speaker today is Matt Mullenberg. He's the Vice President of Social Media Center of Excellence at Cobalt, an ADP company. Matt is a thought leader on the Internet, the automotive space, and local online marketing. He's recognized for his expertise in search engine marketing, social media optimization, reputation management, digital advertising, online marketing, and search engine optimization. For the past 15 years at Cobalt, Matt has worked closely with dealers and manufacturers to identify new ways to improve automotive retailing and marketing and to transform inefficient advertising spend into measurable, powerful ROI. Matt has spoken at industry events including state auto dealer associations, the NADA board, the Google Automotive Summit, and the J.D. Power Roundtables. And we're very fortunate to have him with us today. Matt, would you like to begin?
Thanks, Maureen. I'm just trying to put our hashtag up on the screen. You can see it's a little hard for me to use this tool, but why not start with a little levity this morning? Wonderful, awesome handwriting I have. We will be monitoring Twitter as well with the hashtag #PoundRepMan. Feel free to tweet about the event as we go through, and we'll engage through that channel as appropriate. Maureen and Maria, thank you for the opportunity and the introduction this morning. We're really excited to be here to talk about reputation and the impact on reputation on the dealership business. When we begin to talk about this, what we're really hoping to deliver is an understanding of how to execute a strategy around reputation management in the dealership. The objective today is to give you insight into what we call the 3 pillars of a reputation management strategy, the idea of managing, generating, and attracting attention using your reputation. As we begin to think about reputation, one of the things we spend a lot of time thinking about is the idea of curb appeal. And specifically what we mean by that is if you think about your dealership, the typical dealership is spending thousands of dollars every month to do things like keep the hedges trimmed, keep the lot swept, put balloons on the cars, make sure that there's coffee in the showroom, make sure that the bathrooms are clean, and certainly to make sure that there isn't any graffiti on the building or disparaging remarks about the dealership that could be found by a customer that walks into the store. What's really interesting is the way digital has transformed the consumer experience, and the reality is that most dealers are probably allowing their customers to deface their store in a digital sense. People are going online and using review sites to express opinions about the dealership. What you're seeing here is an actual dealership. When this example was pulled about 6 months ago, this dealership had 7 reviews online. You can see that those reviews clustered at 1 star, maybe 1.5 star. So really an inadequate representation of the dealership experience, but what we're seeing happen in the automotive industry is that the typical consumer that takes the time to leave a review online is the consumer that did have that bad experience. For whatever reason in our industry, consumers that are having good experiences don't typically think to go leave a review about the dealership. 25 months ago, nobody really cared about reputation. The idea of stars and star ratings having an impact on our business wasn't relevant. And then Google made a dramatic change to their Google Places page and began to index the star ratings across multiple websites. When that transition happened, it became very important to the store. If you consider that that 87% of automotive shoppers will use Google in that shopping process, and it's the most likely channel with which they're going to discover a dealership website. When Google began to index those star ratings into the search engine result page, they began to have an impact on our business. And it's that moment in time that really caused us to wake up and say, you know, there's something going on here that dealerships need to embrace. There's change that needs to happen. We're going to take a small diversion and talk about Google for a couple of minutes because of the changes that are in the news and the things that are going on with their platform. Google Places has been the place to maintain your business listing information for the past many months. But as many are aware, the most recent announcement was the transition of Google Places into Google Plus Local. This dramatic change is pretty interesting because it's taking a static page that aggregated information about a dealership and now rolling that into a Google Plus profile where consumers can engage in a more direct and more real-time way. And the community nature or the social nature of the new review destination, Google Plus Local, will have an impact on how consumers interact with your dealership. And importantly, this change will have a dramatic impact on how content from the dealership website indexes on the search engines and how frequently and where your dealership is placed on the search engine results page. So what happened? Why did they do this? Well, Google's trying to achieve a better user experience. If you've had any experience with the Google Places page, you know that the data on that page changed on a frequent basis. Reviews would appear and they would disappear. Business listings would merge and then they would split. They had a lot of platform problems that made the platform unstable for them. By transitioning to Google Plus Local, Google is really focusing on streamlining that user experience, providing a better design and user experience, and ultimately organizing the information to put greater emphasis on reviews and photos. What does it mean for your dealership? Well, fundamentally it means that there's better tools to manage your business page. It means that reviews will be of increased importance to your dealership as they're more prominently displayed on this page and indexed into the search results page. It means you're going to have more insight and data about the user actions and what they're doing when they visit your Google Plus Local page. And ultimately, it means that you have a much greater opportunity to use Google Plus and your Google Business Listing page as a way to influence your search engine results. All in all, we think this is good. The change will be interesting to see. Most dramatic in the change is their move away from a star rating. Zagat's, or Zagat's, as they would call it, uses an expressive 30-point scoring system. They're kind enough, though, to provide a translation scale. So when you look at the Zagat system, a score of 26 to 30 equates to the old score of 5 stars. A score of 21 to 25 equates to 4 stars. A score of 16 to 20 equates to 3 stars. A score of 11 to 15 to 2 stars. And a score of 0 to 10 is 1 star. Interesting additional developments are the impact of Siri and the programs that are going on with Apple and the automotive manufacturers and partners like Yelp and Bing. 79% of consumers now say they use a smartphone to help with their automotive shopping process. This is a real screen where I asked Siri to tell me the Volkswagen dealers that were near San Francisco. And when she, or it, responded, what she came back with was the 5 closest stores. But she presented those stores to me in a star rating order. Now, disappointing result for these dealers, the highest rated Volkswagen store in the San Francisco market only has 2 stars. That has an adverse impact on business, not only for those dealerships, but for Volkswagen, where none of their stores have achieved the magic 3.5-star threshold. It's surprising to note that the average dealer on Yelp, Google, and Yahoo combined has a star rating of 1.9 stars. Our data and industry data shows that the consumers expect a rating of 3.5 stars if they're to make them comfortable with the business and to put that business in their consideration set. It's also surprising to note that 15% of dealers don't even have a listing on Yelp. So when consumers using their iPhone or consumers driving a GM or a BMW or one of these new vehicles that's putting the Siri button on their steering wheel, you don't even have a presence. So reputation is going to be critical to the ultimate success of our dealerships. We talk about a reputation strategy that orients around 3 pillars. The first pillar is the idea of generation. How do I get reviews? How do I overcome this tendency in our industry for consumers to only leave negative reviews? The second pillar is the idea of managing. What do I do with these reviews? How do I engage with these websites to get maximum impact out of them? And then ultimately, the third pillar is the idea of attract. Now that I have this review content out there, how do I use the review content to draw more eyeballs to my website, to create more opportunities to sell cars, and to generate more attention for the dealership? Digging right into generate, it's an interesting world out there right now. It's sort of the wild, wild west. This is a real headline from the New York Times. In a race to outrave, 5-star web reviews go for $5. Well, guess what? This is a prevalent, if not prominent, practice in the automotive industry. Dealers today are confronted with a number of vendors that are coming into the dealership They may not be saying for $5 per review we'll get reviews online. They're more likely to be saying we'll generate 30 to 50 reviews for you in a 30-day period for a flat fee. Same thing. It's the equivalent. What frightens us about this practice is the FTC regulations and guidelines that apply to the review and reputation space. Dealers that are participating in a reviews for cash type of scheme, dealers that are paying for reviews to be posted on their behalf, are likely to get exposed to financial liability or fines from the FTC. If you go to the FTC's website today, they provide guidance on how they intend to enforce their guidelines. They've had a couple of highly visible, highly public cases, like the one referenced in this article with a $250,000 fine. Their current guidance on their site says that they're now looking at industries where the businesses are taking customer feedback, falsifying profiles on review sites, and posting those reviews as though they were that consumer. This practice is prevalent in our industry. I would encourage you to go back to your stores or to check in your stores to make sure that you're not engaging in a scheme that's a reviews for pay type of approach. The other thing to think about as you begin to address the idea of generating more reviews is what's the terms of service on the different sites. Each site will have guidelines for what is okay to post and when it's okay to post. The most dominant sites, Google Plus Local, Yelp, Cars.com, and others, have terms of use that require the poster of that review to be the actual consumer that wrote that review. So while we may have vendors that create profiles and pretend to be those consumers, and the FTC may not specifically enforce against that, the likelihood is that the review site where those reviews are being left has guidelines that explicitly prohibit it, and we're seeing dealerships that are being blacklisted from those review sites for engaging in those types of practices. So, the key message here is it's important to generate reviews, but we need to do it in a legitimate way. Well, we'll come back to that in a second. One more thing to consider is the way reviews look online today. This is an actual review result for a search for a brand of dealer in the local market near Seattle. You can see that the dealers that come up here, the best scoring dealer has a 3-star rating. I alluded to this earlier. We did some research with Yelp years ago, and we looked across Yelp's categories. What we found at the time was that of all the reviews left on Yelp, 80% of those reviews were 4- or 5-star reviews, except in the automotive category. When we looked specifically at the category of automotive, what we found is that 80% of the reviews were 1- or 2-star reviews. This is particularly concerning because other data is suggesting that consumers will willingly change dealerships or brands based on the review profiles they see online. In fact, in a recent GfK study from November, 65% of automotive buyers said reviews influenced their choice of dealership. So how do we make it work? If the propensity of the customer is to leave negative reviews, how do we change that? Well, what's become readily apparent in the process that we help our stores implement is that you need to make the ask. You have to engage your shopper, your buyer of a vehicle, or the person entering the service department to encourage them to leave reviews. Your sales team, your service writers, your cashier, your F&I folks, everyone should be encouraged to remind the customer that feedback is important to your dealership, that you value what the customer has to say about their experience, and that you realize that third-party locations are sometimes the best channel for people to share those opinions. By encouraging the customer to leave reviews, you're going to get more reviews. But the verbal ask isn't necessarily enough. You should enhance that with signage in the dealership. Signs that make it easy to connect with the review site of choice. Or what if every vehicle that rolled out of your service departments had a mirror tag hanging on it with a quick URL or a QR code that made it easy to connect to a review site where the transaction could be reviewed in an easy and simple manner. This added layer of ask will bring even more reviews. But our data shows that that's still not enough. What our data is showing is that to truly be successful with review generation, it's important to follow up with your customers post-sale. You can do that by phone, you can do that by personal contact. We find that the most efficient way is to do that by email. Doing that by email, of course, means that your sales team needs to be trained to collect email addresses. In fact, you might want to incent your sales team to collect email addresses. Make it part of their compensation. The idea is that 24 hours or within 24 hours of the transaction in the dealership, you want to send a thank you email to that customer. You want to thank them for doing business with your store. You want to remind them that you value feedback. And you want to give them a quick survey. And that survey should ask 3 simple questions. How did we do on a star rating basis of 1 to 5? How likely are you to refer a friend to our business on a scale rating of 0 to 10? And a free form box that simply says, tell us your story, an opportunity for the customer to leave candid feedback about what their shopping experience has been. We encourage that survey form to route directly back to the dealership, and it has added benefits to the store. By sending a survey out so quickly after the transaction, you have an opportunity to capture the negative before it ends up out on a public site. You also have an opportunity to capture that negative and fix that problem before that customer receives their CSI survey 5 to 30 days after the transaction. We have many customers that are telling us that they are actually seeing their CSI scores go up when they implement this process because it's giving them the opportunity to fix issues they were unaware of before the OEM CSI survey arrives at the consumer's home. So some key takeaways on generating reviews. No, you shouldn't be buying reviews. This is simply a bad practice. There's legal restrictions and requirements around it, and dealers that engage in the process of buying reviews or falsifying profiles to post reviews are potentially exposing themselves to fines of tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Secondly, we know that if you don't ask, they won't tell. 80% of consumers unaided are going to leave a negative review. Our data shows us that when you implement a process like we described of contacting the customer post-sale, that of those that choose to respond to that survey, 84% will give you a 4 or 5 star rating. Only 7% will give you a 1 or 2 star rating. The remaining 11% will give a 3-star rating. So you can dramatically shift the review profile by making the ask and following up with the customer. I often get asked, what review sites matter? Where should I be? Well, as we said at the outset, the review space didn't matter until Google decided to start to index reviews into their search engine result page. So Google rules. Google's the #1 place that you want to start a review strategy. It's that #1 place simply because it's where the most automotive shoppers are. 87% of your customers will find your dealership through Google at one time or another. But Google's not the only place. There's other sites that matter. Yelp is growing in importance as it gets integrated into Siri, as it's put into the steering wheel on many of the vehicles that are out there. The partnership that they've just announced with Bing will draw much more attention to Yelp reviews. Yelp's an interesting site to deal with because Yelp has very strong and strict algorithms for what reviews they allow to be shown on their page. But by doing that, what they've created is a class of users that highly value reviews and put a great deal of trust in the Yelp channel. In fact, close to 1/5 of automotive shoppers are using Yelp in that shopping process, and Yelp users tend to only believe reviews from Yelp. They don't believe reviews that they see on other sites. So to be able to have access to all of the shoppers in your market, Google matters for reach, Yelp matters for quality. The final takeaway on generating reviews is you have to get the email address. To be successful at this game, to be able to generate the maximum number of reviews, you need to be able to contact your consumer. We recommend a process that gets out to that consumer within 24 hours of the transaction by email, that connects back to that survey form and provides direct feedback to the dealership. The next pillar is the idea of managing reviews. What do I do with this content? How do I engage with these sites? Managing reviews requires active participation within the dealership. If you're going to be successful, there needs to be an individual in your store that has responsibility and authority to engage with customers that have left both negative and positive reviews. You need to have dedicated staff that is able to take action and fix issues as they're uncovered. We talked a little bit about what sites matter. To start your strategy, focus on Google because it's the most users. Go from there and expand to Yelp because it's where the credible community is. But beyond that, there's no less than 15 other sites that have automotive-specific reviews posted on those sites. Your strategy over time should layer those sites in, whether it's DealerRater or Cars.com or Edmunds or others that are aggregating reviews. Many times those sites are local to your community, so it's important to identify which sites are being used by your consumers and adding that to your review monitoring process as your department grows or as your emphasis in this channel grows. Reviews don't end with just star ratings either. There are these sites where people can go leave a star rating about your dealership, but there's a whole list of additional sites where customers can just simply write free-form comments. Sites that we've heard of, like the BetterBusinessBureau.org, BBB.org, sites like RipoffReport.com or PissedOffConsumer.com, sites like Facebook or Twitter where people can tweet or post status updates about their experience. All of these locations are also important to your reputation. They're harder to manage because they're more diverse. They're harder to manage because they don't give star ratings. You have to read the content to really understand what's being said. To truly reach these sites, to truly have impact, the dealership probably needs a tool in place, an application of some sort that allows you to have a dashboard where the reviews and the mentions appear in one location and provide easy access to take action. Taking action. Taking action is important. What you should see on the screen is an actual review, a review from a consumer that brought their car in for service, and by the time they left the service department, it cost them $2,500 more than the initial estimate. The customer was upset. They had a bad experience. They went on Yelp to share that experience. They did that on August 13 of 2009. Now, I'm excited that this dealer took the opportunity to respond to this consumer. The mistake they made was waiting 9 weeks to do it. If you think about the typical customer, if they have a bad experience, they're upset for a day, they might be upset for 2 days, maybe they're upset for 3 days. But if they're still fuming about it, if they're still angry about it a week later, 2 weeks later, 9 weeks later, there's probably something else going on there. Most people don't carry the issue for that long. When you wait this long to engage, when you wait 9 weeks, what you're really doing is stirring the pot. You're taking a customer who is upset, who's gotten through it, who's moved on, and you're making them angry again by re-highlighting the issue and bringing it back to the forefront. We think about this very much like the lead space. When I started in the automotive industry 15 years ago, we used to tell dealers that it was important to respond to a lead within 72 hours. I don't think any of us on the phone today would dream of waiting 72 hours to respond to a customer that sent a lead to our dealership today. In fact, most of our manufacturers have a standard or guideline of 5 hours or less. Many of the dealer groups have a standard or guideline of an hour or 30 minutes or less. The same is true in the review space. The more rapidly you respond to that customer, the more likely you are to have an impact on their experience, the more likely you are to make it a positive experience and turn that customer from being upset with your dealership to being an advocate of your dealership. And at the end of the day, what we're really seeing is that when you're able to address the negative in a way that satisfies the customer, those customers often become the best advocates of your store. They become the best vocal point to talk about how you lived up to a customer service experience when they didn't think you had it in you. Engaging doesn't end with the negative reviews. It's important to respond to every negative review. It's important to address those consumer concerns. But the positive reviews create opportunity as well. When a customer comes online and leaves a positive review of your dealership, you should take the time to reinforce your brand promise, to respond to that customer, to thank them for thanking you. And most importantly, to use that response as a soft sell opportunity to tell all those other consumers that are looking at these reviews about the special programs or the special advantages of doing business with your dealership. Remember, the responses on these review sites are public. They don't go just to the individual that wrote the review. They're out there for everyone else to read, and increasingly they're an important part of that shopping process. Take advantage of both the negative and the positive reviews to create a positive impression for your consumer. Fix the negative problems, soft sell through the positive problems. Now, I've had dealers who take that very literally. They try to respond to every positive review that gets left. We don't recommend that as a best practice. The reality is that if you start responding to every review that's left, You quickly run out of things to say, and it quickly no longer looks genuine. It's cut and paste. You say the same thing every time. We recommend as a best practice that you respond to 1 out of 7 positive reviews. The typical review site will show 10 reviews on one page. Of those reviews, it's likely that 1 is negative. You're already responding to the negatives. You're already addressing those negative consumer experiences. In all likelihood, another one of those reviews, or maybe 2, will be a neutral or 3-star review, and the remaining 7 reviews will be a positive review. If you selectively respond to 1 out of 7 positive reviews, what you're really doing is ensuring that on any given review search result page, you have a negative review and a positive review that have response to it, and you're putting your best foot forward for your customer. Managing reviews can take on another facet as well. It's pretty interesting to consider how consumers actually see your business. The typical consumer who leaves a review is, yes, leaving a review of your dealership, but in reality, they're leaving a review of the individual with whom they interacted while they were in your dealership. And what's interesting is the opportunity to really gain insight into your staff and into your performance, and to make substantive changes in your dealership that improve your customer experience over time. What you're looking at on the screen is a dashboard that we provide to our customers. This dashboard stack ranks our sales staff or our service staff based on the star rating that's been assigned by the consumers that actually did transactions with their store. It gets really interesting to look at this data. Remember, I recommended a survey form that asked 3 questions. How did we do on a 5-star basis? How likely are you to refer a friend on a 0 to 10-star basis or 10-score basis? And tell us your story. What's interesting about star ratings is the way they cluster. If 84% of consumers, when prompted to respond to a survey, will give a 4 or 5-star rating, what that really means is that star ratings will typically cluster between 4.3 and 4.8 stars. I call that marketing advantage. You can take those star ratings and be able to promote individuals within your store, your dealership, etc. What gets interesting is you begin to look in those numbers. So you see here that the average star rating for this store clustered between 4 stars and 5 stars, in that range of 4.3 to 4.8. What's interesting is you look across it. This first salesperson had a star rating of 5.0. That's a great rating. It might not be credible with the consumer because it's too good a rating. What begins to get interesting is as you move to the right. The next column over is the loyalty score. The loyalty score for this sales associate is 100%. That means that every customer this associate worked with said that they would refer friends to this dealership. That's a great thing. I begin to get concerned when I see that this sales associate sold 34 customers but only sent surveys to 15 of them, and that 60% of those responded to that survey. It's not a realistic response rate. As a manager, I would scratch my head and wonder, why did I only get 15 email addresses? What happened to the other 19 customers that this sales associate serviced? Why didn't we get those addresses? In fact, I might be concerned that this sales associate is cherry picking, that they're selecting the customers that they know are happy and only getting those email addresses so that they reflect well in the report. You go down this page a little bit further, you can see the guy next in line has 4.9 stars. 4.9 stars and also a 100% loyalty score. But when you look at how many emails and how many customers, 32 customers, 25 emails, 44% response rate. This sales associate is doing a much better job of collecting email addresses from his customer, and the loyalty score and star rating is probably more reflective of the actual experience. Go a little further down the screen. You see a sales associate that has a 4.6 star rating. 4.6 stars is great. You'd send leads to that guy all day long until you look at their loyalty score, where you see that 1 out of 4 of their customers wouldn't send a friend to this dealership to do business. So as I said, stars tend to cluster high. Net promoter scores, or the 10-point scale, tends to show a lot of differentiation. And what you really see here is a sales associate that gets a good star rating, but there's a management and training opportunity because 1 in 4 of their customers wouldn't send their friend to this dealership to do business. That's lost opportunity in the long run. And as you can go down the page, you can see 4-star ratings where none of their customers would send people to this dealership. Clearly an opportunity for change and improvement. So when you think about management, there's a lot of things to think about here. First of all, it's the 21st century. Your reply shouldn't take weeks. But it can't be reactive. You need to reply in a timely fashion, but you have to do it with care. Don't do it so quickly that you don't think about what you're saying, but don't wait so long that you're not addressing that customer in a timely fashion. Always be selling. Use the fact that customers are leaving positive reviews for you to talk about the benefits of doing business with your dealership. Reinforce your brand promise. Let the customer know that you value customer service and that you provide programs to support your customers. And finally, before you get into this game, make sure you're ready for the commitment. Make sure that you have staff that are dedicated and have the authority to react to reviews and to take action to fix problems that occur. The last pillar is the idea of using this content or using reviews to attract additional attention to your dealership. This starts with the business profile pages. All of the review sites that are out there have a profile page for your dealership, whether it's your Google Plus local page or your Yelp profile page or your business listing on Bing or City Search or Yahoo or Insider pages, or your business-specific page on Cars and DealerRater and AutoTrader and the others. What's interesting about these business listing pages is they contain very vital information about your dealership, specifically your name, address, phone number, URL, and then other details like your hours of operations and promotions and coupons and things like that. What's surprising and what most dealerships don't recognize is that their business listing page on each one of these sites likely has facts or details that don't match. Wrong phone numbers, wrong addresses. In a significant number of cases, in fact, the dealer's listing pages, their URL points back to their OEM's website and not to their dealer website. So the review space creates opportunity to attract more eyeballs to your dealer website by simply engaging in a very fundamental SEO practice, the SEO practice of building inbound links to your store. Every one of these profile pages is a powerful inbound link. It's a credible brand that gets a lot of traffic, and when they provide a link from that site to your dealership website, the SEO benefit for your dealership website is dramatic. We encourage you to take the time to claim these profile pages. Do one a week, do one a month, but get on top of them and tackle these pages so that they're reflecting the right and accurate information about your dealership. When you claim these pages, there's a lot of opportunity for optimization. It's not simply making sure that your name, address, and phone number are correct, although that's critical. It's not just about getting your URL in there for the SEO lift, but it's also about optimizing that page. This is a Google Plus local page. The first thing you see at the top of the page is photos. Most dealership Google Plus local pages don't have any photos on them today. Consumers relate to photos. In fact, our data shows us that consumers relate to photos of people best. So we encourage photos of smiling, happy faces right at the top of that page. It creates a sense of familiarity. People relate to people. People don't buy from buildings or signs. As you go down the page, you get additional information about the dealership, categories, purchasing a vehicle, keywords that have related to this dealership, great customer service, GM certified. All of these terms can be influenced by managing your page, and they help you rank on organic SEO terms. As you go up the page, there's an opportunity for a tout or a quote from the dealership or information about the dealership. We see a lot of our stores that will put coupons in this space. The reality is consumers are likely to never print this page and bring it in to redeem that coupon. But in the shopping process for that customer that is looking for a dealership to do business with, the fact that you put a coupon out there is just one more validation point that you're a business that's worth engaging with. The next step in using reviews to attract attention is to publish those reviews. And this is where we differ from many of the other providers that are in the marketplace. We believe that this content is unique and valuable content that belongs to and is owned by the dealership. Unfortunately, what we see in the industry is that most of the providers that support reputation at the dealership level retain what we call the right to first publish. What does that mean? Well, what that means is that when you use a third-party platform to generate reviews for you, they often publish those reviews into their own website, onto your business profile page on that website, but it goes into their own website. The problem with that is an SEO problem. Inherently, this content, user-generated content in the form of reviews, indexes really well on the search engines. In fact, many of the changes that have been made to the algorithms at Google, Yahoo, and Bing over the past couple of years have been oriented around giving more credit to the fresh, ever-changing content that appears within websites. User-generated content is a key driver. The challenge when someone else publishes a review first, even if they provide you an RSS feed or some other way to access that data to publish it on your own website, is that the search engines put emphasis on who published that content first. So when you partner with a company that takes that content and publishes it to their website first and then ships it off to you in the form of an RSS feed so you can publish it into your own website, what you're really doing is promoting their site and hurting your own site. That user-generated content will get emphasized on the site that published it first. Google will reward the site with first publish. They'll penalize the site that published it second by suppressing that site from the listing or moving that site into the secondary index. So to maximize the reach of your reviews, it's important that you retain the right of first publish. And we encourage you to demand that from your vendors when you talk to them about the review space. Before you sign a contract with them, tell them that you require the right to publish, that you want 7 days lead time to put that review on your website before they publish it anywhere else. And if they're not willing to give you that right of first publish, look for a different provider, because a quality, credible provider will support your SEO efforts and will be committed to driving traffic and eyeballs to your dealership website. When it's done right, you ultimately dominate the search engine. The search engine result page is the holy grail. This is where most customers will come to access information about your store. In fact, our data shows that the most searched keyword term that drives traffic to any dealership website is the dealership's name. For the typical dealership today, when you search on your name, you'll likely see your website in position number 1. You'll likely see your Google Plus local page in position number 2, but positions 3 through 10 will be filled up with Edmunds.com/your dealership name. Other sites that are using your dealership name as SEO meta tags and keywords to get into that search engine result page. We believe that when a consumer searches on your dealership name, that as many of the blue links on that page should be links directly to your dealership. And by embracing this user-generated content, by getting right to first publish, by managing your profile pages on these different review sites, when somebody searches for your dealership, you're much more likely to drive a result like you see in this example, where all of the links that appear on the page are links to content that is managed or maintained by the dealership in one way or another. And in fact, all of the links above the fold take you directly to the dealership website. That's a win for your store. That's the way to maximize eyeballs. Anything you do that allows another website to get onto a page based on your name or your brand term is a detriment to your dealership. So key takeaways for attracting more customers. First of all, clean up your image. You have all these profile pages out there. The content on these profile pages is not correct in most cases. Take the time to correct it. Take the time to get the URL to your dealership in there. Take the time to improve that image so customers have more opportunity to find you. And then promote yourself, whether it's getting that right to first publish so that you're putting that content into your site before it gets indexed anywhere else, or taking that content to put touts on the homepage of your site to promote your star rating or to promote individual salespeople within your store. This user-generated content is a rich source of information that's very valuable to the consumer in their shopping process. You have a right to own that content and to share that content through your own properties first. By putting the idea of generating, managing, and attract in place, you're putting a complete strategy for reputation management in place. You're building a foundation and an approach that will allow you to excel in the reputation space, to differentiate yourself from competitive dealerships down the road or within your market, and ultimately you will drive more eyeballs and more results for your dealership. Done right, you can change your profile from having an average star rating of 1.9 to having an average star rating that's north of 4 on most of the review sites that are out there. At the end of the day, star ratings will drive more vehicles and more consumers to your website. The data we see shows that when you have a 1-star rating, your organically referred traffic will decline year over year. When you can move that to a 4 or 5-star rating, our data is showing that organically generated traffic is growing by as much as 96% year over year. There's a direct connection between the stars that are reflected on the search engine result page and the amount of organic traffic coming to your dealership, which means that there's a direct connection between the stars that appear on that search results page and the number of vehicles that you sell month to month. With that, I'd love to take questions.
Thank you, Matt, for a great presentation. We have lots of questions here for you. The first one is from Veronica DeRue. Her question is it all right to ask customers to leave a testimonial, either positive or negative, doesn't matter, and then enter them into a drawing at the end of the month just for writing a review? Note, they do not have to write a positive review, just a review in general.
Yeah, that's a great question, Veronica, and there's different opinions out there, and the FTC hasn't been clear on how they intend to enforce that. Their rules say that you can't provide an incentive to an individual to leave a review, but the rules don't say that you can't provide a reward after the fact. So it may simply be positioning. If you say to the customer, write a review and you'll be given a gift card, that's probably a clear violation of the FTC guidelines. But if you say, write a review, and then all those people end up in a drawing and you end up rewarding one of them, that may not violate the guidelines. So there's a fine gray line in there to walk. At the end of the day, you probably want to consult legal counsel and look at those FTC guidelines to understand how it impacts your business.
Thanks, Matt. We had a similar question from Brian, but you really answered that. Now we have a question from John Wade. He says, when we ask Siri for a Nissan dealership, she pulls up State Line Nissan, which was our name 10 years ago. How do we update her database to reflect our new name, Nissan City? Great question. Siri draws her results from Yelp. You can work directly with Yelp. Go to yelp.com, do a search for State Line Nissan, since that's how they have you listed right now, and click on the link that says, I own this business. And that will begin the process of allowing you to update that information. Siri is a great example of one place that you need to do that, powered by Yelp. But remember that Google, Yahoo, Bing, and all of these other directory sites also have listing pages for you. And it's my guess that if it's incorrect on Yelp, it's probably incorrect on all of those other sites as well. So fix Yelp, fix Google, and then begin to tick off the others as well. Thanks, Matt. We have a question here from Carolina Shirley. Yelp will take down reviews if they know or suspect you asked the customer to leave one. Do you have any suggestions for getting Yelp reviews without asking? Yeah, that's a great question. So Yelp's algorithm is pretty aggressive in how it manages reviews. They don't explicitly prohibit you from asking for reviews, but they do something that's called measuring velocity. They look at how many reviews you got over a previous period of time and how many reviews you're now getting. And when that velocity changes dramatically, it begins to set up red flags for them. We think there's a lot of ways to make Yelp work. Simply having the Yelp tout in your store, putting a sign up that says, we're on Yelp, is a way to get people to relate with Yelp and perhaps go leave a review there without being explicit about that ask. Sending out an email thanking a customer for a transaction and just putting logos on the page that show Yelp and Google Plus and the other review sites that you like to get reviews. It's not a direct ask, it's just presenting to them that you have a profile page on Yelp. One of the ways that we're seeing that's really successful with Yelp is to simply encourage your customers to check in on Yelp when they're in the dealership. Once you've checked in on Yelp using your device or when you get back to your PC, Yelp continuously asks its users who have checked in at a location if they'd like to review that location. So you transition from being the ones that make the ask to letting Yelp make the ask, and you do that by getting the customer to use the Yelp check-in function when they're in your dealership.
So there's a lot of ways to do it in a soft sell way that's not the explicit, would you please go leave a review for me? And the problem with the explicit, would you go leave a review for me, is it often changes the velocity of review generation too dramatically, and Yelp starts funneling everything out of that search engine result page.
Thanks, Matt. We have a question here from Jennifer Hutchinson. I can't seem to figure out how to get Google ratings and start to show them under our organic Google listings. I have asked friends to rate us, and they have, but it doesn't show unless one clicks on our Places pages. How do I get them to show under organic listings?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, there's a lot of transition and change that's going on at Google right now. The Google Places page had been around for years. It went away about 4 weeks ago. Google has eliminated those pages, and they're migrating them into their new platform called Google Plus Local. That transition's created a lot of confusion and a lot of challenges in the dealer space. We've seen reviews that go up and then come down. We've seen the count of reviews go from being hundreds to being dozens, all kinds of changes that are happening. When you talk to Google about that, they really emphasize that those things are happening because of the platform changes that they're making in the back end. And they've told us to expect that there will continue to be impacts like that for a couple of more months while they complete their transition. What they're really getting to is to get all of that content onto Google Plus Local. And Google Plus Local is a social site. It's a social site much like Facebook. It's a place where customers can post status updates, they can leave reviews, they can do other things. Google's strategy is to increasingly use that social information to decide what content is promoted on that search engine result page. So that review that your friend wrote, you might not see that review if you go do a search for reviews of my dealership in my market on just simply that search. But if that person is a friend of yours in the Google Plus network and you do that search, it's likely that that review is going to come up in position number 1. So this idea of personalized search results that Google's been advancing for so many years means that each of your users is going to see a different result page based on the network that they have on Google Plus Local and on other websites, or the content that they've engaged with by hitting the +1 button or the like button or the check-in button. The best strategy is just to focus on volume, to encourage your customers to go to Google Plus Local if they have a profile and to leave a review of your dealership. That network effect will grow over time, and increasingly you will see those reviews appear in the search results page. Now, the other dramatic change we've seen is individual reviews don't appear to get indexed on the search results page anymore. Google Plus Local is providing an aggregate summary of the reviews, and you have to click through to the Plus Local page to actually see the details of those reviews.
Thank you, Matt. We have a question here from Ken Pescatori. Where can I find your rep management tool? Is it part of the Cobalt suite, or is it a separate product?
Great question. RepMan is a product within the Cobalt suite. It's an add-on product to our core website solution, but it's accessed through the same dealer command center where you manage your website, your mobile website, and your other applications that you have with us.
Okay, thanks, Matt. We have a question here from Carol Scott. My employees are telling me customers are more hesitant to give their email addresses due to all the marketing they fear they will receive. How do you recommend we overcome this?
That's an interesting question and a complaint that we actually haven't heard in a long time. What we're in fact seeing is that customers are increasingly willing to give out an email address. It's become pretty standard for customers to have multiple email addresses. We work with a whole range of dealerships to do reputation management. Our most successful stores are getting email addresses from 80% of their customers in the sales process and about 40% of their customers in the service process. It's likely a process issue in the dealership. It's how you make the ask or how you provide value for getting that email address. One of my favorite stores is a store down in Texas that on delivery of the vehicle coordinates, they take a walkthrough through the dealership, and part of that walkthrough through the dealership is a stop in the service department. And the reward for the customer is that the service department schedules their first oil change for 90 days after the transaction for free if the customer will give the email address. And they use the email address as the way to confirm that appointment. So there's a quid pro quo there that goes on to get the email address. It's not a required process to do it. It's a non-confrontational way to get the email address. But many stores are simply successful by making it part of the expectation for their sales team, setting minimum thresholds, and then coaching their staff on how to make the ask in an appropriate, non-confrontational way.
Thanks, Matt. Here's a question from Nick Dionia. When Google shows a review and then response, and Google indicates that 2 of 3 customers found the review helpful, can we tell when they found it helpful, whether it's before the dealer responded or after the dealer responded?
Oh, that's a great question and something that we don't have insight into yet. Google is adding increased analytics and insights into the reviews and the activity that happens on your Google Plus Local page. You will begin through your analytics to be able to see who liked those reviews and when they liked those reviews, which should give you the insight that you're looking for. Today you can't see that. It's not available.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from George Dunn. Do Cars.com reviews get pushed to Google, Yahoo, and Bing?
I don't know about Cars.com's relationships with the search engines. I know that they implement their platform so that that content can be indexed. That's different from pushing it. I would be surprised if they're able to push to Google. We're not aware of Google having partnerships like that with any providers in the space. Yahoo and Bing, on the other hand, have a tradition and history of aggregating reviews from third-party partners like Cars, so it's very possible that they have those relationships or that they're in the works with those relationships. The recent changes at Bing may change that. As Bing has increased and deepened their partnership with Yelp, we suspect that we'll see aggregated reviews begin to disappear from Bing and that Yelp will become the only source of reviews that show up on Bing.
Thanks, Matt. Next question is from Zeri Brazou. Question, what tool do you recommend for managing all review sites with a dashboard that you were talking about?
Yeah, that's a softball, and I'm a bit biased on that. I believe that the solution that Cobalt provides is the best solution in the market, but there are many players that are out there. You can go to horizontal players like Reputation.com or Radian6, or you can go to other website players, competitors of ours that do a very fine job like Dealer.com. You've got to find out what's right for your business. We believe that our solution is the best in the market, and we hope we get an opportunity to talk to you about it.
Thanks, Matt. This question from J.R. Batchelor. Can we have customers leave a review while at the dealership?
That's a great question, and a question that stirs much controversy when it's asked. There's a couple sides to that answer. The short answer is yes, you can have people leave reviews while they're in the dealership. Google is the only site that explicitly allows and encourages that to happen. We don't know what impact the changes from Google Places to Google Plus Local will have on that process. The other review sites that are out there look at the clustering of IP addresses, and when they see that all the reviews are coming from a single IP address, or that a lot of the reviews come from a single IP address, their algorithms take over and they actually filter those reviews out because they think that they're solicited reviews or that they're not real reviews. So the long answer is we don't recommend that as a strategy. We don't think it's right to ask the customer while they're in the dealership to leave the review. We think that it harms your reputation on most of the review sites that are out there, and it's not clear to us that Google will continue to index those reviews on a go-forward basis. So it may be a short-term win with Google, but in the long term you might find that you have to start over.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Next question from Jeff Van Hee. Is the product Google Alerts something we can use to alert us of reviews being posted?
Yeah, Google Alerts has not worked very successfully for finding review content that's out there. Google Plus Local will be adding an alerting functionality, so when consumers leave a review on Google Plus Local, if you've claimed your Google Plus Local page, you'll get an email notification that a new review has been left. Each of the other review sites out there also have notification mechanisms, so if you want to do it in-house and you're willing to establish relationships with each of those sites, you can get that content delivered to you electronically. When you go to one of the tool providers, they often have relationships with the different review sites that are aggregating that content for you. So you can try to create it in-house by having direct relationships, or you might go to a platform that's aggregating multiple review sources for you.
Thanks, Matt. Ryan Pagano has this question. What is the significance of SEO Penguin? I've heard that term lately.
Yeah, Penguin's a code name for Google's algorithm changes. Penguin is oriented around increasing the relevancy of content that's being returned to their customer. So if you think about Google's mission, their mission is to organize the world's information and make it easy for you to access that information. One of the things that Google was explicitly going after in the Penguin release was this idea of link farming, building inbound links from multiple properties to make your website look like it had a lot of credible referrals into your site. Businesses that used that strategy when Penguin came out saw that their websites dropped dramatically in the search engine results. What Google's trying to do is put much more emphasis on crowdsourced information by getting information based on check-ins or plus ones or likes. So rather than being able to artificially build links out there by creating server farms and link farms that do it, you have to build those inbound links by getting real consumers that are using real tools like Google Plus Local or Facebook or others to check in and essentially vote for your dealership. And they're now biasing their search results so that when somebody in your network has had an interaction with a business that you wanted that might be relevant to you, that business is now much more likely to show up in the first or second search result on the page. So the goal of Penguin is really around how do they treat inbound links, what inbound links are credible to define where you should be on that search engine result page, and how do they use data from the social graph to further validate that so that personalized information is delivered to each individual user.
Thanks, Matt. Here's another question from Jennifer Hutchinson. Yelp offers paid advertising with them. Will a dealer show higher in the results based on whether or not you are a paid advertiser?
That's a great question. I don't know explicitly how Yelp manages their algorithm to get you to the top of those search results. What advertising does do for you is give you the opportunity to put your ad across other dealerships' Yelp pages when they're not claiming their listing. So it creates the opportunity to increase your brand exposure and to increase your reach on more general automotive searches or on searches for dealers in your market, but not explicitly your dealership. It also allows you to put an ad unit at the top of your own listing page with a call to action that can help connect that customer from your Yelp page down to your dealership page. So net, I don't know that it changes the organic order in which they show you in the search results page, but it certainly increases your visibility by putting your name on many more pages within the Yelp site.
Thanks, Matt. We have a question from Melissa Madigan. How long do Google reviews stay visual? They show up on the new Google Plus page in order of most helpful, typically, but some of our reviews are quite old. Just wondering if they eventually will be removed.
Yeah, that's a great question. Google's history is to not remove reviews unless they identify the review as false or falsified in some way. So the expectation should be that the reviews that are up there will always be up there. Now, what our data and what the industry data shows is that consumers are interested in a couple of things. They expect that in any 6-month period you have 20 reviews, and it's that last 12-month period that form the average that they actually care about. So reviews that are over a year old tend to get discounted in the consumer's mind. They don't think of them as valid because it's a pretty distant transaction. What matters most is, are you getting enough quantity over a 6-month period of time to be credible? And when you are credible, are you clearing that magic threshold of 3.5 stars so that you're in the consideration set for that customer?
Thanks, Matt. We have a clarification question here from Carolina Shirley. She said you said to ask or demand the right of first publish from our vendors. Can we ask Google to do that? I'm assuming not. So who is it that we ask or demand for that?
Yeah, so Google doesn't sell solutions to you to help manage your reviews. They're just a location where consumers can leave reviews. But when you look at the industry, you've got vendors that are coming into your store every day. And, the list is miles long. Dealer Rater, Presto Reviews, ADP Cobalt, Dealer.com, etc. When you're talking to those vendors that are talking to you about how do I generate more reviews and get those reviews online, it's those vendors that I'm referring to where you want to get that right to first publish. You don't want to work with a partner that's going to generate reviews for you and publish them on their website before they allow them to publish them on your website. So yes, very astute. You're right. Google, Yahoo, Bing, and Yelp, the aggregators of these reviews or the presenters of these reviews, they're not going to give you an opportunity for first publish. But when you look at the automotive industry, vendors that are trying to help you manage your reviews, those are the people you should be asking for right to first publish.
Thanks, Matt. Jeff Van He asked this question: is a QR code available for the Google Plus local page as it was for the Google Places?
Absolutely. You can generate a QR code that will link to any page on the Internet. Our platform allows for QR code generation through our tools. I'm sure many of the other vendors out there do as well. And there's a lot of QR sites that you can go to generate a QR code if you don't want to work through a vendor platform.
Thanks, Matt. Patrick Prim asked this question: what about asking for reviews on our Facebook page?
Yeah, I love the idea of asking for reviews on your Facebook page. The trick there is doing it in a way that fits with the context and the reason that consumers are on that page. We actually emphasize generating the reviews through the email platform and then enabling a share functionality so that it can be shared out to a Facebook wall rather than going directly to Facebook and saying, please review our store. The problem of posting that with a status update is you've got no idea who's watching your wall and who's going to respond to that. We watched one of the manufacturers a year ago post up on their wall that they wanted to hear funny stories about driving experiences with their car. That strategy wasn't well thought through because most of the stories they got back were people telling about the time the car broke down or when the engine blew up or when it caught on fire. It didn't reflect what the OEM was trying to achieve. You run the same risk if you have a general status update that says, please write us reviews of our store. You're not sure who's going to respond. So we encourage it to be done in a more controlled way and to use Facebook as a way to amplify that content and increase the reach of that content for other people to see it.
We have a similar question from Greg Chittenden. He says, is it effective to follow up with a customer with email and a link to reiterate the importance of a review?
Yes, absolutely. If you've got customers, particularly customers you've got good relationships with, follow up as much as feels appropriate with them. Once you've got customers that have provided you the feedback, we see no harm in asking them to share it in a broader forum.
Thanks. We have Ken Pescatori asking a question here. How do you add the Google Plus One button to non-Google pages and search result pages?
Maria, I'd ask on that one that you just give me the email address for that attendee, and I will send a link to the FAQs on Google Plus Local that explain how to do it.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Question from Zaire Brazou. What tool do you recommend for managing all review sites with a dashboard? No, I think you answered that one earlier. Is there a different one, or is there one you can post on Google Plus now?
Yeah, so that's a great question and also very astute. Some of the sites don't allow for their reviews to be aggregated into tools, so part of your strategy is always going to require you to monitor some specific sites directly. Google Plus Local, as they release their alerting system, will then be enabling vendors to put those reviews directly into their tool. We're very excited about that. Our tool today doesn't support Google Places reviews, but we are ready and excited to do the work to take those alerts so that in one platform you have access to those reviews as well.
Thanks. Jasmine Watts has this question. Some of our dealerships are missing reviews on Google Local now. Do you know the criteria for what Google considers to be spammy?
Yeah, we don't. Google's very protective of their algorithms. Most dealers we're talking to are missing reviews on Google Plus Local today. Many of them are credible reviews that our reps at Google are telling us will return over time. that they're still working through their platform issues and refining that algorithm to get the right reviews out there. Typically what we see is that the reviews that have been removed are reviews that have been generated through vendors where you've paid on a per review basis or you've paid for a guaranteed number of reviews. I talked to a dealer just the other day who talked about how he used a vendor to get 400 reviews up in a short period of time and how they stuck for about 3 months and then they all disappeared. That's pretty typical of what we're seeing right now. We're very excited to get past all of these changes at Google and have stability in that platform so that the confusion that dealers have can be addressed and put away, and that it can be a positive look forward on the great things that the Google Plus Local platform is going to do for dealers.
Thanks, Matt. We have a question here from Colleen Nation. The previous employee in my position didn't do anything with reputation management. We have a couple of bad reviews that are 1 or 2 years old on Google that were never responded to. Should we leave them be or respond to them?
That's a great question. I would encourage you to let those be. My opinion is that if you don't get back to a negative review within 7 days, you're better off not getting back to that negative review in a public format. Hopefully you're working it directly with that consumer as soon as the negative is posted. You're trying to address their problem, and once you've fixed it, that's when you want to go leave a response to the review that they left. If it's a year, 2 years, 3 years old, it's not worth the effort. If you try to make contact that customer to fix that problem, they're probably not likely to remember the problem, or you're probably likely to just upset them again.
Thanks. Another question from Zeri Brazil. We have been putting a lot of focus on our DealerRater page and having it pushed to our Google Plus Local page. Would you consider DealerRater a powerful review page for consumers, or should we turn our focus to another page?
That's a great question. We respect the work that DealerRater is doing. We think it's interesting to have an automotive-specific provider of reviews in the industry. Cars.com and Edmunds are also entering that space in very aggressive ways. They actually have the consumer brand, and customers go there. We have a few issues with DealerRater. Specifically, they have low traffic, low eyeballs. Looking at compete data just the other day. Maria, do you see there's a comment on the screen that the audience has lost audio?
Yeah, I answered it.
Okay. So sorry to disrupt that.
It was just one person. It wasn't everyone, so
got it.
not
Thank
to worry.
You. So here's the challenge. DealerRater, according to Compete data, has somewhere between 200,000 and 300,000 unique visitors in a 30-day period. If you divide that by the 212 DMAs that are in the United States, that means that the typical geographic area is getting a few thousand visits in a month. If you divide that by the number of dealers that are in that market, the reach that you get through DealerRater is really, really small. The challenge we have with DealerRater is they are one of those sites that retains that right to first publish. So when you work with them, you're helping to promote their brand and grow their audience. And because that content gets indexed well in Google and then connects back to the DealerRater site, you need to be very cognizant of what that means for you. There's an ad unit at the top of that page that if you haven't paid for is likely sold to a competitor of yours. And right below that ad unit is a dealer locator listing of all of the other dealers in your market that sell that brand listed in a star rating order. And if you're not number one, what you're really doing is using your review to draw eyeballs to the DealerRater site where they now see a dealer locator that shows another dealer with a higher rating and is likely to funnel that dealer off, or at least put that dealer into that consumer's consideration set. We really, really believe in the value of this user-generated content and the importance of this content in promoting your own website, and we think it's best to work in a platform where you have that right to first publish, where those eyeballs that are going to see that review on the search engine result page are linking to your site, not to the vendor's site.
Matt, I think you just answered the next question, but we'll ask it anyway from Melissa Madigan. Do you think it's beneficial and worth the money to become a certified dealer on DealerRater? We've been getting many positive reviews on here as opposed to on Google.
I think DealerRater can certainly be part of a successful strategy. It's not where I would start my strategy. I would start with Google Plus Local because of the number of eyeballs that see content there. I would move to Yelp next because of the strength of that community and the way that community only values reviews from that site. And then, quite frankly, I would move to Yahoo or Bing or Cars or Edmunds because those are the next set of sites that really get the eyeballs in your individual marketplace. DealerRater can be a good fit. You can use their content for marketing purposes, but I don't see them as a first step or a core step in your strategy.
Thanks, Matt. Question from Paul Mananian. Is there a good plugin or widget to use to post reviews on our Cobalt Power website?
We'd love to talk to you about that. That's a feature that we'll release very soon. So, Paul, if you want to follow up with me directly, I'd be happy to share with you some of our product plans.
Okay, thank you. That looks like all the questions in our Q&A section. Maria, do you have some questions in chat?
Yeah, we have a question here. It says, I've been managing my Google Places in my personal Gmail account. How can I change that to the new Gmail account I made for our dealership?
So the Google Plus local page will begin to support hierarchical assignments or multiple editors to that page. When they release that functionality, you will be able to make that new account the admin for the page, and then you'll be able to go in and delete the old account or your personal account as the admin for that page.
Great. We have a question here from Veronica. She asks, is there a way to respond as the owner in the new Google Local? I claimed our page a long time ago, and it still acts like it's claimed, but I can't reply anymore. Also, my previous owner responses are gone.
Yeah, that goes back to the platform challenges that they're having. We're seeing a lot of those changes going on right now. They're telling us that they're, very rapidly and iteratively working through the migration from Google Places to Google Plus Local, and that those issues will get addressed as they move along. It's possible that those original responses got dropped because the identity that wrote them isn't associated with that Google Plus Local page. It's possible that those reviews got dropped because their algorithm decided that they weren't valid reviews, that they were left by people inside the dealership, or they were left by competitors, or they were falsified profiles. Part of what they're doing is trying to match reviews to their Google Plus local users so that they are giving real validated identity to the reviews that are being left on their site. And increasingly, you will see that being important to the consumer, that the review is associated with a name, and that when you click on that name, you get broader insight into who that individual is that left that review.
Great. We have a question here from Rick. He asks, with the increasing number of CSI reports, especially in multiple franchise dealerships, and the number of surveys they generate, will this be a negative for the customer?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something that we're very concerned about and talk with our OEM clients about and our dealer customers about on a very regular basis. Quite honestly, there is an impact. We see that dealers that implement a process of asking for review-type feedback shortly after the transaction happened in the dealership, they see that their CSI scores go up, but they see that their CSI response rates go down. So consumers in our industry do tend to get over-surveyed. There's our dealership email survey, there's the OEM survey, there's the J.D. Power survey. There may be multiple surveys that come out of the OEMs. You've got to figure out what works best for your process and how to position the surveys that are important to you. And if you're doing multiple surveys in the store, you should really look at how do I consolidate those or how do I eliminate surveys so that I'm minimizing the number of touch points with the consumer. Now, that said, we see a lot of value in the early warning system because of the positive impact that it has on the overall CSI score, and because so many of the OEM programs provide compensation to the dealership for achieving certain score levels, that the investment in that initial survey pays off because the scores go up, but only if you can balance that against the decline in responses that you get.
Okay, great. We actually have a clarification from Veronica, who was asking about the Google. She was asking about, let me just go back to her question.
The lost reviews and the lost comments.
Yeah, and she was asking, she's more concerned about whether she can still reply as the owner.
Yes, you can still reply as the owner. As long as you're an admin of that Google Plus local page, you have the ability to reply to reviews.
Okay, great. We have another question. We've tested Siri, and we're doing all that you had said about managing their social presence, and they have over 100 reviews on Yelp, but they don't appear on Siri's results when they do a search for Toyota dealers in Los Angeles. Any thoughts on how we can rank better and appear on Siri's results?
Oh, great question, and I haven't seen that happen in the past. I'd love to connect and learn more about that issue and then talk to our partners at Yelp to see if I can help you.
Great. Maureen, are there some questions in chat or in Q&A?
Yes, there are. We have one from Jeff Van Hee. We have a number of stores in our group. How can I claim all the Google Plus local pages for each store under the same user?
That's a great question, and I don't know the technical details of that. I'd be happy to talk to a specialist here and get back to you with an answer on that.
Okay, thanks. We have another question from Ken Thurman. How are you getting people to register for Google Plus when they are not already a Google member?
Yeah, we don't actually put emphasis on trying to get customers to register for one place or another. We believe in providing some choice to the consumer. The typical customer will be a Google user or a Yahoo user or a Yelp user. So when we present an opportunity for a customer to leave reviews, we're promoting multiple locations with the knowledge that customers probably have a relationship with one of those places already. Now, interestingly about Google, 58% of Google users are perpetually logged into their Google account. So, most of your customers are likely to already have an account there and already be logged in. Whether they've taken the step of migrating that account to being a Google Plus account is a secondary question, and Google hasn't disclosed what percentage of their active Gmail or Google users also have Google Plus local accounts. We see this transition as really interesting. One of the things that we expect will happen because of the Google Plus local change is that the quantity of reviews is going to begin to get more evenly distributed across multiple sites. Google Plus Local has not been a very exciting property. It hasn't taken off the way Facebook or Pinterest or some of these other sites have. They are taking a risk by trying to force their audience into that channel. And what we think will really happen is many of those customers will choose to just go back to their Yahoo account or go back to their Yelp account or their Bing account to share their review content because they already have the relationship there.
Thanks, Matt. We have a question here from Zeri Brazou. We have tried to focus on Yelp, but it's hard because all our good reviews get filtered. It is our lowest scoring review site. Is there anything we can do about that or just promote and hope for the best?
Yeah, so the problem at Yelp is probably a velocity issue. By focusing on Yelp, you probably encourage too many customers to leave a review there in too short a period of time. We work on strategies with Yelp to help create success over an extended period of time because Yelp is a long-term game. One of the most successful things we're seeing happen is rather than asking the customer to leave a review on Yelp, we're asking the customer that if they are a Yelper to please check in at the dealership. That check-in creates a validation point and a vote for your store, which is a good thing in its own right. But when that customer comes back to Yelp the next time and the time after that and the time after that, they get prompted or they get asked by Yelp to please leave a review of your business. And we're seeing that those reviews are very successfully ending up in the primary index. So probably just a slight tweak to strategy. Rather than asking for the review itself, ask for the check-in and then let Yelp take over to ask for the review.
Okay, we have one more question here from Reality Bizinet. She said she just wanted to make sure she has a Google Plus page. Have you heard if Google Plus Local will be able to merge with our Google Plus page, or will we have to manage both separately?
That's a great question, and we don't have direction from Google yet on what they intend to do with Google Plus business pages that were created before Google Plus Local came out and how they will merge those with Google Plus Local. It's very clear that their strategy is to try to get all businesses into the Google Plus Local environment, so I suspect that they will have tools or ways to escalate so you can merge those pages, but we haven't encountered that issue yet or had an opportunity to raise it with them.
Okay, thanks, Matt. We have one last question here from Carolina Shirley. Does Yelp sell signs to place around the dealership?
Yeah, that's a great question. In fact, if you are a subscriber to Yelp as a business, they provide those signs and those static links to you as part of that relationship. They'll just simply put them in a box and mail them out to you.
Okay, great. Well, I think that concludes our questions today.
We do have one more question, Maureen.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
Let me just get to that one.
Great time. Thank you, folks.
Yeah, let me just get to that question from Kevin Bookbinder.
Okay. Meanwhile,
he asks, which of these two scenarios is the lesser of two evils? The first scenario is developing a fantastic online reputation, expectation setting, while having staff members fail to live up to the customer's expectation. Or 2, remaining passive in the development of online reputation besides handling negativity.
Kevin, you're a great guy. It's been a long time since we've seen each other, and that's a fantastic question. I believe in authenticity. I believe that our reputation precedes us, and that if we do our reputation well, most of our work is done for us. So trying to manipulate and manage reviews to reflect a good impression when in fact the experience in the store is a bad impression, I think is a failing experience, because I think that people talk and ultimately that gets out. Now, being passive about it, I'm not eager to be passive about it as well. I think that this is an opportunity and an inflection point in our industry. I think in many ways we're flashing back to the 1950s or 1940s when the car dealer was the pinnacle of the community, when communities were still small, and where people did business based on relationships. What the social graph, what sites like Facebook and Yelp and Google Plus are doing for us is bringing community back together. It now forms, it no longer happens at coffee after church or on the golf course after 18 holes. It happens online, and it forms based around the topic that people are interested in at that minute. What that means is community changes rapidly, and it's based on what my interests are at that moment and what I'm trying to accomplish. Your customers will begin to connect with other customers of yours simply because the internet makes it easy. That connection will begin to either reinforce your reputation as a good business or begin to define your reputation as a bad business. I think you want to be in the place where you are a good business, and in a place where when that community does form because somebody's in their shopping process, they're hearing good things about you.
Okay, thanks, Matt. I know I said we were going to wrap this up, but we have one more question here. This will be the last one, and then I'd ask people, if you do have any questions, you can reach Matt at his email address, which is on the screen. But here's the last question. Is there an issue, and it's from Mike Snyder, is there an issue with asking consumers to review our dealership on our own e-commerce website and then link from our site to review sites?
No. In fact, that's highly part of the strategy we recommend. We think it's important to generate those reviews on your own site. That user-generated content is really powerful from an SEO process. And then you can, if you are also successfully driving good reputations on Yelp and Google Plus Local and others, touting that on your website and connecting over to that content is a way to bring added validation to the reviews that you're generating on your own site. So it's a wonderful thing to do. Get that user-generated content, build as many reviews you can within your e-commerce site, and then point the customer to Google Plus Local or Yelp or Yahoo to show them that this isn't just marketing. We truly do have a good reputation, and here's third-party sites that validate that for you.
Thanks, Matt. And please, everyone, we got great response and a tremendous number of questions. Matt is making himself available to answer those questions. If you email him at mattm@cobalt.com, I'm sure he'll respond very quickly. Again, thank you, Matt, for an absolutely fabulous presentation and a great Q&A session. We'd like to ask everyone to please complete a short survey that will be delivered to you after the webinar is over. And if you have any additional questions or you would like a hard copy or recording of today's presentation, please email Maria Burkell at dealer-communications.com. That's mburkell@dealer-communications.com. And we hope you'll stay tuned for upcoming Digital Dealer webinars. The next one is Facebook Marketing 2012, How to Attract Visitors, Engage Genuine Fans, and Generate Leads. Our presenter for that will be Kathy Cruz, the founder and CEO of Cruise Control, Inc. The date for that is June 28th, next Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern and 8:30 a.m. Pacific Time. And we hope you'll come join us at the 13th Digital Dealer Conference and Exposition. That will be held October 23rd to the 25th at the Mirage Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. Dealership registration is now open, and you can register by going to www.digitaldealerconference.com. Again, thanks everyone for your participation today, and thank you, Matt.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes our webinar. Thank you for attending.